Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 14th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we'll move on to the roll call of members. Madam Clerk, will call the roll.
Councilman Kincaid.
Present.
Councilman Campbell.
Here.
Councilman Coots.
Here.
Councilman Robertson.
Here.
Councilman Copeland. Absent. Councilman Wheat is also absent. Councilman Fleming.
Absent.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do have a quorum, just barely.
Got it.
With that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Would entertain any comments, amendments, changes, or entertain a motion?
Make a motion we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, minutes are approved. All right, on to old business. Is there any other old business? I don't have anything on my agenda, but is there any old business from the council to bring forward tonight?
Not on mine.
Okay, we'll move on to new business then. First item up we have here is Resolution 2018-15, which is a consideration by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, confirming the designation of an economic revitalization area. This occurs in the northwest corner of State Road 39 and Enterprise Boulevard. So I'll turn it over to Rob to read, and then we'll open this up for, this is a public hearing, so we will have a public hearing following that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, as you recall, we at the last meeting, we had a declaratory resolution concerning this property, and by this resolution, pursuant to the act, this council may find a particular area within the jurisdiction of the city an economic revitalization area, and may, by adoption of a resolution, declare such area to be an economic revitalization area. The council adopted resolution 2018-14, the declaratory resolution, on April 23rd of 2018, where in that resolution those boundaries are located within the corporate boundaries of the city, which comprised approximately 18 plus or minus acres. And in this economic revitalization area in which the property owners making the application to the city pursuant to the act subsequently approved by this council may receive real property tax abatement and or personal property tax abatement pursuant to applicable procedures of the act. This council has caused to be published a notice pursuant to the act and Indiana Code, and this council will hold a public hearing here in accordance with the act, which notice was published at least 10 days prior to the date of the public hearing. This resolution also says, in accordance with Section 2 of the act, it has caused to be filed a copy of the notice and the declaratory resolution with the Boone County Assessor's Office and each taxing unit within the boundaries of the city. This resolution then would confirm that the council will take final action to modify and confirm the declaratory resolution. It would modify the area as described on Exhibits A and B that are comprising of plus or minus 16 acres. And the one thing I wanted to bring to our attention is that this was changed from 18, as I indicated before on the declaratory resolution, that it was learned that 2 of the acres were not within the corporate boundaries of the city. So that's the only change that was made, is in the legal descriptions in Exhibit A. So, pursuant to Section 3 of this confirmatory resolution, this will confirm that the area is undesirable for or impossible of normal development and occupancy because of the lack of development and growth and the deterioration of improvements or character of the occupancy, age of substandard buildings, or other factors which have impaired the values in the or prevent a normal development of the property. Resolution 2018-14 adopted by the council is hereby modified, confirmed, and approved, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Okay, thank you, Rob. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing on Resolution 2018-15. If you would like to say something concerning this resolution, just please state your name. And please feel free to open and say your piece. Is there anything the EDC wants to say about this, or you good? You don't have to. I feel like you have to, but.
Yeah, nothing in particular about this. We appreciate the council's further consideration of this opportunity, and I think we've got a couple more to discuss here tonight. So it's just, again, simply a tool, mechanism that we are able to get in place for future development.
Okay, thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Any other public comment or during this public hearing? Okay, no sudden movements, so I will close public hearing on Resolution 2018-15. Would open it up for any questions, discussions for council members?
Paper says 1-7, is that right?
That one's coming up next.
Oh,
This is
okay.
still 1-5. Yeah, we got a couple of these tonight. Okay, with that, would entertain a motion concerning Resolution 2018-15.
I move we approve Resolution 2018-15.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Resolution 2018-15 is passed unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, next up is Resolution 2018-17, which is consideration of the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, regarding the designation of an economic revitalization area. And this one occurs area just off of State Road 32 and Enterprise Boulevard. So I'll again have Rob read the resolution on this one.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is the first step in the process. This is Resolution 2018-17 regarding the designation of an economic revitalization area. This resolution states that the council desires to declare an area located in Lebanon, Indiana, as described in Exhibit A, and also shown on the map as Exhibit B, to be made part of an economic revitalization area, which property owners and lessees may make application to the city for abatement, again, of real and/or personal property taxes. This resolution states that be it resolved and adopted by the council that the area is located within the corporate boundaries of the city. It is declared to be an economic revitalization area as defined in the act. A public hearing shall be held at a time and place of the regular meeting of the council. The council shall publish or cause to be published pursuant to the act the notice of the adoption and the substance of this resolution. One time at least 10 days before the date of the public hearing, and that at the conclusion of the public hearing, the council may take final action of the proposed designation. Pursuant to Section 2.5 of the Act, a copy of this resolution shall be filed with the Boone County Assessor, and this council shall also file a copy of the notice with each taxing unit that has authority to levy property taxes in the geographic area which area is located. And lastly, this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Okay, thank you, Rob. This is the first step of the process we just did on Resolution 2018-15. Any questions, concerns, comments from council?
No.
Any public comment concerning Resolution 2018-17? Okay. Would entertain a motion concerning Resolution 2018-17.
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2018-17.
We have a motion to approve 2018-17. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Resolution 2018-17 passed unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, next item up is Resolution 2018-18, which is consideration by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, authorizing the sale of real estate property located at 320 South Meridian Street. I'll turn this one over to Ben to introduce this.
Good evening, council members. Over the last couple of months, we've been going through the process to request bids for sale of property located catty corner from City Hall building at 320 South Meridian Street. We did complete the process of getting two appraisals. The average of those two was $152,500. We did release a request for bids at that minimum bid price. At the Board of Works meeting, their second meeting in April, we held the required public hearing. and then open bids. We did receive one bid from Chris J. Edwards II at our minimum bid price of $152,500. Subsequently, from that meeting, we did review the bid submittal and determined that it did meet the requirements of our bid offering. Earlier this evening at the Board of Works meeting, they did accept that bid. So this is before you tonight for the last step of the process, the Resolution 2018-18 to approve the sale of the property.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what he plans to do with the property?
Sure. Mr. Edwards and his design and development team are planning, per our request, a mixed-use development on both the city's property, and he is also under contract on several properties due north of this area along Meridian Street. He is planning, I believe it's 3 mixed-use buildings. I said the first phase would be in 2 phases, 2 buildings that are about 15,000 square feet apiece. They have first floor retail space and then 2 floors of multifamily above them. The information was included in his bid, and I'll be happy to share that with you so you can take a look at that. One building faces on Superior Street, and then the second would face onto Meridian Street. He's conceptually showing required parking associated with that, but I think this represents in 2 phases about a $5 million investment on his part, providing some mixed-use development in our downtown, per our downtown action plan that we just adopted about a year ago. So exciting project. I think per some of his initial schedules, he's expecting the first building to be available for tenants by November 1st of this year.
Wow.
So he's ready to go.
Aggressive.
He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Any questions for Ben concerning this resolution or concerning the project?
Sure.
Okay. Now, he hasn't been to Planning Commission yet, though, right? Or has he?
No, he will be filing in the next month, and I believe his intention is to be at the July Planning Commission meeting for development plan approval. Okay.
As was my question was about the parking.
What was expressed to him from the first conversation is he needs to show the required parking on site.
Right.
And that has been the plan all along, and that's what he
Okay,
intends to
because
do.
it's what I've seen, not close.
Actually, it does meet what he's showing.
Does it?
Yeah.
Based on, how about the retail space, though?
Yes, we've calculated based on general retail space, it's one space for 250 square feet. So conceptually, right now, he's showing exactly the minimum number of spaces required for the 2 buildings he's proposing. But yes,
And that's with our new rules of 2 per apartment,
That's
2 per
correct.
house?
That's correct.
And that does not include the half rule for downtown.
That does include, so that this site qualifies for a 50% reduction in number of parking being in the central business district. So that this is the 50% reduction.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. Rob, do you want to read the resolution?
Mayor, Council, Resolution 2018-018 is authorizing the sale of the real property that Mr. Bontrager described. And it says, whereas the city is in possession of certain real property located at 320 South Meridian Street, define the property. The city no longer has a need for this property and wishes to dispose of the property. The city, by its Board of Public Works and Safety, entered into competitive bidding. Sealed offers were received by the board for the property, and the required public hearing was held during its April 30th, 2018 meeting. The board, at its May 14th meeting, accepted the offer subject to this council's approval of this, as well as entering into a mutually acceptable purchase agreement, but for the amount of $152,500. This resolution states that having been duly advised of the benefits and the lack of need for the property, the council hereby approves the sale of the property. 2 appraisals of the property have been obtained. The offering price of the property, again, is $152,500, and it's accepted and approved. That the mayor and city attorney are authorized for and on behalf of the city to execute and deliver all required conveyance documents and take all steps necessary to consummate the sale of the property. And this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon passage.
Thank you, Rob. Also, too, Corey would mention that we, in the evening, there would be parking available in the public lots around, so we didn't have any concern with that 50% reduction applied. So, any further questions, comments concerning Resolution 2018-18? Okay, would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2018-18, authorizing the sale of real property.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Resolution 2018-18 passed unanimously. Thank you, council. And finally, we have Resolution 2018-19, which is consideration by the Common Council of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, regarding the designation of an economic revitalization area. Turn this one over for Rob to read again.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Again, this is similar to what we've been talking about. This Resolution 2018-19 is regarding the designation of an economic revitalization area that is laid out in Exhibits A and Exhibit B. And again, pursuant to which an economic revitalization area in which property owners and lessees may make application to the city for abatement of real and/or personal property taxes. This resolution states that the area is located within the corporate boundaries of the city. The area is declared to be an economic revitalization area as defined in the Act. A public hearing shall be held at a time and place of a regular meeting of this council. And again, this council shall publish or cause to be published pursuant to the Act notice of the adoption and substance of this resolution at least one time 10 days before the date of the public hearing, which notice shall state the date and time for the public hearing. Pursuant to the Act, a copy of this resolution shall be filed with the Boone County Assessor, and also this council shall file a copy of the notice with each taxing unit that has authority to levy property taxes in the geographic area where the area is located. This resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Okay, second time tonight. Any more questions from council? Any public comment? Okay. At this point, would entertain a motion concerning Resolution 2018-19.
I move we approve Resolution 2018-19.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 2018-19 passed unanimously. All right, thank you, council. That concludes our resolutions for tonight. So next item up I have here is the annual tax abatement filing report by Mr. Attorney Kent Franson. Ken, if you wanted to come forward and present your report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Kent Franzen. I'm here tonight on behalf of some of my clients, as I do annually, to present information with regard to tax abatement compliance. And I also take this opportunity every year to provide you with a summary of financial information regarding the taxes being paid in the Lebanon Business Park. Most of you are aware that under Indiana law, companies who apply for the benefit of tax abatement are required to annually certify to the city that they have substantially complied with the promises that they made in order to receive the benefit of tax abatement. Those promises are either usually in the form of investment in a particular piece of property or equipment, or in employment, both in quantity of jobs and in compensation to be paid those jobs. And it's the city's job to review this information annually and decide whether the company has in fact substantially done what it said it would do. Because if it fails to do so without good cause, under Indiana law, the city can revoke the tax abatement going forward. So we've been doing this for, I'm sorry to say, 25 years now. I know I don't look any older than I did when I started this exercise 25 years ago, but it is what it is. Tonight I'm here on behalf of 6 companies that I represent. Lex Lebanon, which is the successor owner to what was originally Lebanon 65 LLC, which is the large new building on State Road 32 across from Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's now the home of Continental Tire. They obtained abatement on the building itself about 3 years ago. Maplehurst Bakeries, which is in the Lebanon Business Park, and they were approved for both real and personal property tax abatement. Hachette Book Group, I'm here on their behalf with regard to some equipment that they installed in a new addition to the building 5 or 6 years ago at this point. That's personal property abatement. MSI Packaging and their building owner, Irish Pickle Enterprises, for their company has real property abatement in the business park. SB&F LLC and their subsidiary company, IBC Coatings, which is located on Hendricks Drive. And they've grown over time from 2 or 3 employees and had over 60. And they've taken up some additional space, but they annually certify their compliance with both real and personal property investment and employment. And the last one is SOHM, S-O-H-M LLC, which is the owner of the new Purity Drive building at Purity Grocers building at 100 Purity Drive. Purity Grocers was originally in the building at 300 Purity Drive, and then they built a new building at 100 Purity Drive and moved into there, and they lease the 300 building. They're approved for real property abatement only. I have provided the CF1 forms for each of these companies except for 2. I'm sorry to report that 2 of them have not yet signed their form and given me the data. Try as I might, people come and go in these companies, and as often the case, I don't get started on it until late in the game. And this year, 2 companies have not completed the form yet. Lex Lebanon LP, which is the owner of the Continental Tire building, they've had a change in personnel, and they didn't realize that it was they're not sure whose job it is, whether it's the owner or the tenant's responsibility. They're there. They've spent over $20 million on their building, and Continental Tire has employed a number of people, and I believe they're well in excess. They're well on their way of complying with the promises they made, but I don't have their particular information yet. The other one is Maplehurst Bakeries, and they have more than met their promises, I can assure you. But they've had a change in personnel, and we don't have the signed form yet. But I will get those hopefully tomorrow or in the next couple of days. I'm sorry for that, but I just assumed they were working on it, only to find out they didn't know what I was talking about. So we'll get that straightened out. The rest of them we have certified and signed by those companies. So the process would be, unless you've got questions about any of these, a number of others have apparently filed them on their own, which is fine with me. The mayor may have seen some already from other companies. Other people will dribble these things in over time. But the process would be that the council typically authorizes the mayor and clerk treasurer to sign the form certifying author's approval so that they can file them with the county and they continue to qualify for tax abatement benefits. Once the tax abatement wears off, which it has for many, if not most of the companies in the business park, then they don't have to file these compliance forms any longer. A lot of the companies in the park, C&H, Hendrickson, I mean, you get down the list. The 10 years has long since expired. There hasn't been an expansion, and the abatement has worn off. So they don't have to comply with the reporting after they're no longer receiving the abatement. So with that, I'll just stop, let you ask me any questions, and then I'll talk a bit about the annual numbers we have for the business park companies.
Any questions from Kent, from council?
I don't. Waiting on the highlight reel.
Ken, I assume you will have those this week?
Yeah, that's my plan.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
And I know Tanya has a stacked in her office as well, too, ones that have been sent in.
There's one other document I left in my folder. I'll be right back. So as far as the Lebanon Business Park is concerned, I've provided all of you with this table, which identifies the 26 buildings in the park by owner and by occupant. At one time, Duke Realty owned most of the buildings in the park. Duke Realty doesn't own most of them anymore. They own a handful. The majority of them have been purchased by the companies who actually are located there. A few of them are still owned by real estate investment companies. But it has the identity of the landowner, the parcel number, the occupant, the property address, and then the property taxes, both real and personal property, paid by each of these companies. And this year, the Lebanon Business Park companies generated $6.6 million in real property taxes. Out of those 26 companies, a couple of them haven't gone on the tax rolls yet, like the Ken Foods building is not yet done. It's getting close, but it's not yet occupied. It's not yet on the tax rolls. But of the 27, I think, counting Ken Foods, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them are under tax abatement. So much more than half of them are not receiving any property tax abatement on their building. But the total taxes billed this year and to be paid is $6,602,000. And then personal property taxes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies in the park that are receiving personal property tax abatement on their equipment. Those come to, wait a minute, I'm reading off last year's number. I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself here. For 2017-18, the total taxes is $6.8 million, $6,811,352. Last year's figure was 6.602. I'm sorry for being confused. And then in the personal property taxes this year, taxes have gone up to $944,863. That's an increase of about $110,000 over last year. So why would there be an increase over 1 year from last? Well, tax abatement phases in, so as the years go by, the abatement deduction wears off. That's one reason. Two, companies grow and have differing tax structures from year to year. But over time, we have seen the property taxes paid in the park continue to increase. Total this year is $7.75 million. Last year, the total was $7.4 million. This year's numbers reflect 44.7% of all the property taxes collected this year in the city of Lebanon will come from the Lebanon Business Park. That's 3% more than it was last year. Last year was 41.7%. Now, over time, even though the park goes up in value, the rest of the city could also grow, and we would hope that the city would grow otherwise, so that the percentage might go down over time, even though the size of the park might increase. But it's comparing the park to the other taxpayers in the Lebanon is what this percentage reflects. So we're now at 44.7%. I don't know what it'll be next year. It's also 8.45% of all the property taxes collected in the county. Last year, the county's our percentage of property taxes as compared to all the taxes collected in the county were I got so many numbers here I can't find them. 7.3%. So we've gone up from 7.3% last year to 8.45% this year. We've got two companies in the park that are paying nearly $1 million a year. C&H, which is a principal tenant of two of the big buildings out there, owned by Duke Realty, they paid over $1 million this year. Hachette Books, Pearson Education's building pays $911,000 last year, and this year it's no longer the Pearson Education building. It's now occupied by XPO Logistics, but the taxes this year are $818,000. Hachette Books is the other large taxpayer in the business park. They'll pay $825,000 in property taxes this year. So that gives you a highlight about the business park and the role it plays in the finances of the cost of government in our city. We can argue about tax abatement, we can talk about the good and the bad and whether you should do it or not do it. And there's good arguments going either way, I suppose. But what can't be ignored is the fact that roughly half of all the taxes being collected in the city of Lebanon are being paid by 25 companies located on about 1,000 acres of land at the edge of town. And if that park wasn't here, the tax revenues would be roughly half of what they are today. The cost of government might be somewhat less, but they wouldn't be half as much less. So the commercial and industrial taxpayers basically carry the lion's share of the cost of government. Why is that? Well, because land in the Lebanon Business Park is assessed at $50,000 an acre. So our property tax system is funded based upon the assessed value of land, and Lebanon Business Park land is assessed at a very high value, and therefore it pays inordinately higher than homes pay or farms pay or other types of property taxes, property tax ownership. So that's the report for this year. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If the council would be so inclined, if it would authorize the mayor and clerk treasurer to sign the CF1 forms for the four that I turned in, and if you would, it would help me if you could authorize the mayor and clerk treasurer to sign the two that I'm going to turn in this week, and ask them, as long as they think that they've substantially met the promises, then I won't have to come back in 2 weeks and ask for approval then, if you trust your mayor and clerk treasurer. If you don't, then you don't have to adopt that resolution.
Look like a couple shady characters.
I sign a lot of stuff, so. Any final questions for Kent?
No. Thanks for the report. I always look forward to it every year.
I bet it's just a real stem winder for you.
No, I mean, really, I seriously do. I mean, when you first started doing it, it was only that we were getting 27% of our,
Well,
when I first heard this 11 years ago.
no one knew 25 years ago when I stood up on behalf of
Yeah.
Kaufman Engineering and Hendrickson, which were the first two companies in the park. We started talking about it. People thought we'd lost our mind. Why would you give companies like that tax abatement? They'll just take advantage of your tax benefit, and then they'll move out when the tax abatement has expired. And we've had a couple of companies move in 25 years. We've had a couple of them leave. But the great majority of them have not only stayed, but they've grown. I mean, a half a dozen of them are in much bigger buildings today than they ever were when they started. They've invested. They've made substantial investment in employees and equipment. They don't want to leave. I mean, there are people who live here or work here. Their buildings are fully occupied. They've got incredible racking and systems in the building, and they don't have any incentive to go somewhere else. Now, occasionally you'll have a company go bankrupt, like MI Windows, I think, went bankrupt, and then somebody else will downsize, like Pearson Education, got relocated to a different market. But the building's still there.
And they still pay property taxes on the building.
They're still paying property taxes, whether it's occupied or not. So, I mean, I didn't know what the future was going to hold 25 years ago, but I think that the property tax standpoint it's one of the most successful business parks in Indiana. It's essentially fully occupied. Now we've got Gander Mountain is in bankruptcy, and they're having tough times. ConAgra moved out, so we've got a building there by the truck stop that's partially empty or fully empty, I'm not sure. But I mean, for the most part, the companies are there. They're occupying. They're employing people. Almost every one of them's got jobs advertising. Everybody's looking for a job in Lebanon. They must not want to work very hard, or they can't pass the test, because there's jobs available in almost every one of these companies. So, you know, I'm done preaching.
Any other questions for Ken?
Well, I hope he's around for the next 25, and I'm around to listen to it.
Well, we'd like to, you know, we'd love to get IBM's world headquarters, or Intel,
Amazon, 5,000 people.
Disney, next Disney World. How about that? We could let them move in here.
We did submit Amazon, Dick, but the Indy Chamber didn't pick us for the site. So
Amazon.com, you know, the Amazon new world headquarters. The mayor knows all about it.
We
on the
submitted
list.
for HQ too. We submitted for HQ.
I don't know if it's likely that we'll get them, but it'd be nice to think that they would even think about us. But you know, I don't know. It'd be a big change for the city. It's been a big change, but you know, interestingly, the city of Lebanon hasn't changed materially from the business park, other than the property taxes have gone up. Most of the people who work in the park don't live here. They live somewhere else for a variety of reasons.
Well,
We'd like to do something about that.
The other side of that, if we didn't have the business park, we wouldn't be doing half the things we're doing right now, or have done in the last 10 years in the community and for things if it wasn't that business park.
Yep.
Yeah, the park spins off a lot more property taxes than are needed to fund the cost of the roads and the infrastructure. And that's what's paying for some of the things that the mayor's promoting for downtown investment and fire improvements and so forth. So, you know, I'm not taking any credit for it. I'm just passing on the information.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Your comments are well appreciated and well taken. So, is there other comments? Good. So, what we're looking for is just a motion to allow me to sign, Tanya and myself to sign this. It's not CF1s. It's I forget the name of the
SB.
Okay, we done?
Done.
Yeah. What are Ken? What's the form called?
Right here.
Excuse me?
It's a CF1.
CF1. Is that correct?
Yeah. Here's the signature page.
CF1. Okay.
Sorry, you're right.
Okay. So just
We have SB1s too.
So just need a motion to allow me to sign the SB or CF1 forms on your behalf.
I make a motion that we allow the mayor and the clerk to sign the CF1 forms.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those there say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank
I
you.
will
Tom,
sign
if
those
you
when I get them.
get those signed, I'll get them attached to the individual forms, so you'll have a complete set for your records.
Okay.
And then I've got to file them with the county taxing authorities, so I'll do that, and we'll be done for another year.
Okay. We'll see you in 12 months.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Okay. Next item up I have here is a request for eminent domain process approval for the 69 kV line project. Jeff Jacob from Lebanon Utilities.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Jeff Jacob. I'm the attorney for Lebanon Utilities. I'm here also with Mike Whitman and Corby Unroe from Lebanon Utilities. I'm here this evening to talk about the kind of a status update with the 69 kV project. As we've talked and you've seen the route and different iterations, we started out needing easement or fee simple acquisition for approximately 58 parcels. In fact, a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, I was here making a similar request. I am happy to report that after that request authorizing us to file a condemnation action, it was unnecessary, and the utility and the property owner have come to terms, and we've acquired the necessary easement from that owner. As you are also aware, there was a very difficult parcel that we have recently closed on and acquired north of the park. A residence that was going to be substantially impacted by the line, and for a variety of reasons, we felt it necessary to acquire that residence outright. The plan will be to immediately put that back on the market once we have utility board approval and move forward with selling it now that the easement has been acquired. That having been said, I do have out of the, save for the city-owned parcels that we have to finalize the transaction with the city, we have one left. One parcel out of the 58. It's a farm ground piece. We've gone through the uniform land acquisition offer process. We've had a variety of negotiations. We've reappraised the parcel, but we have not been able to come to terms with that property owner. We are going to continue to try, but it looks like we're going to need to file, which is the reason I'm here this evening, asking your request to file a condemnation action on behalf of the city against parcel, what we are referring to as parcel 41. A little bit very generally about this parcel. It is farm ground. It's owned by basically two entities, if you will. And we have been through the process with them of discussions and negotiations and simply not been able to come to terms. It does have an existing REMC-owned utility line on the property, which is not in public right-of-way, nor do we find any recorded easement for that property, and it has been my direction to the land acquisition group, when we come across one of those, if we're unable to find a written easement saying you have the authority to be there, we've treated it as a blank canvas and gone back and said we're not going to value that piece as though it's got a transmission or a utility line on it, because we don't find the authority to be there, so we've started over. Same thing, this is an REMC-owned line, which we will eventually require. Same thing, we don't find that they have easement, so we've started as though in our negotiations with the property owner and valuing the property as though the REMC line was not there. That having been said, with Mr. Shine and his office's review throughout the process, I would ask for your authority to move forward with condemnation action for what we refer to as parcel 41 in relation to the 69 kV project.
Jeff, the last time you were here, the owner didn't have a number as far as what they were willing to accept. Has that changed, or are they still unwilling to give us a number? I'm really hesitant to get too terribly in-depth into negotiations. As you know, when we acquire property, a municipality has got to have it appraised, and that's the valuation. This particular parcel, 50% of the ownership has provided us with a number. There's issues with the easement language and a number, so we just have not come to terms. We're going to continue to try. I was just curious if they had a number yet.
It is a valuation issue, and then there's some particulars of easement language and the like that we've struggled to work through. So, and again, you have my commitment that our land acquisition group in my office will continue to have those discussions, but we've just not been able to come to terms. I am pleased to report that out of what started, now we have had some redesign, but out of the 58 parcels, I am ecstatic that, and save for the city-owned pieces, which I trust we won't have an issue with, but that we're really potentially only going to file with one.
Pretty good. That's really good.
Yeah, we're very pleased with that, and the group worked pretty hard and Mr. Unroe has done a very nice job of meeting with some of the property owners that had more detailed questions and really spending quite a bit of time talking to people and walking through what this process is. It's not fun. We get that. Nobody wants it, but it is a necessary component for the community.
So when we did the previous one, did that then get resolved before it went to court?
That has, in fact, been resolved a week ago. Yes, we're ecstatic to report that.
Okay. Any further questions from Jeff?
No, sir.
Okay. Would then entertain a motion concerning a motion to move forward on the condemnation action for parcel 41 in the 69 kV line project.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to move forward?
I'll make a motion that we authorize them to proceed with them in a domain on parcel 41.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Council, thank you for
Motion's
your
been
time, and
approved.
we'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. That concludes my agenda, unless there's anything else on the council's mind. Okay.
Anything here?
Any announcements or anything like that?
thing.
We'll move on to claims then, and we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we pay the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Is there, there is a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Claims are approved. And we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, and I think, Keith, do you have the
I'll
second?
second it.
Keith has the second. Thanks, that we are adjourned. Thanks for watching.
I thought we were going to have to call Dan and have him.